my gosh. Oh, she's so hilarious. She's such an episode.
When your 106-year-old grandmother clowns you for being 38 and
How
single,
old are
so
you?
you have to clap
I'm
back.
38.
Huh?
I'm 38.
I've never been married. Huh? Have you ever been married?
Really, Nana?
38 years old.
Really?
Really? I've never been married. No children or nothing.
Oh,
You sure missed a lot of life.
dang.
Why do I have to get married and have kids to have a good life? Huh? Why do I have to get married and have kids just to have a good life?
You do have no good life.
I do.
You don't go nowhere
I do. I just got back from a trip.
by yourself, no man. If you don't have a man, you ain't nothing.
Really? I'm not nothing without a man.
First of all, I've always held the belief that past a certain age, you should be able to say whatever you want. Now, hopefully, what's being said is wise and uplifting or whatever, but a lot of times it's just based. A lot of times it's just cut and dry. This is what it is, like no filters. Kind of like, how kids be telling you the truth before they understand social cues. Same way for people who get older. So, the interesting thing about this entire dialogue is we are literally seeing the clash of the generations. She reminds me so much of my grandma. My grandma probably would have been around her age if she was still living. But just the value and the mindset. And even my great grandma, who was, around that era where I want to say it's the silent generation, I think is the term. But it's the value that these women had, their value of marriage, their value of marriage and kids, and almost like you need to have these things in order to have what was considered a valuable or fulfilling life. That was so ingrained. The mindset is completely different. So it's so crazy for me to see the clash of the generations and how you see somebody coming from the exact same lineage who has a completely different mindset. And, you have to ask yourself, how did you get from, okay, you have no value unless you are married and have kids, and your life doesn't mean anything unless you're married and have kids, to a single woman who's 38, by herself, doing trips, girls trips, no kids, living her best life. Like, these are two completely opposing values, and they're coming from the same family. That's which is so intriguing. Let's continue.
No, I had a husband till he died. I had
Well,
a boyfriend all the time.
you was
Before I
having
got married.
you was having sex.
Huh?
You had sex after granddaddy died?
No, I didn't. But I
Uh-huh.
had boyfriend and husband
Whatever.
till he died.
I still have sex.
Huh?
I still have sex.
You what?
I still have sex.
I know you do, but that's not right. That's dirty. Sleeping around like a...
It's one person. One person.
Sleeping around like a...
Your mama.
Oh my goodness. Now the story doesn't end there. Let's go back to the follow-up conversation regarding this whole thing.
Up conversation with my 106-year-old grandmother.
Remember what?
Do you remember our conversation last week? When you talked about me not being married?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you feel that way?
Do what?
Why do you feel that way? Like I'm not nothing if I'm not married and don't have kids?
I didn't say that.
You didn't call me a slut?
Huh?
You didn't call me a slut last week?
Call you a flirt?
A slut?
No.
106. I am mad at her.
Who
She
told you
106.
that? Who told you that?
Y'all see this? Really, Nana?
So those are the joys and challenges of working with the elderly. But one more video I want to share. This is her granddaughter now, who was posting, again, her response to this viral video and her giving her perspective on her life. Let's play it. funny video, a clash of generations for sure, a clash of values, but a couple of things to take away from this. As I mentioned before, it is so interesting to see how, you can have somebody coming from the same family, same bloodline, and just a generation or two later, the values are completely different. And of course, there's always going to be a bit of difference or deviation that the newest generation has from the parents. That's to be expected. But to what extent? And it's like, this is a 180-degree turnaround. A woman who based her value essentially upon her ability to maintain a marriage and raise healthy kids and raise a home, to a woman who was very much basing her value on her own personal fulfillment and her own personal happiness, irregardless of men and children. And really, we have nothing else to point to other than feminism, that I think is a big component and a big reason for this cultural shift. I do appreciate that we live in a culture where people can have individuality and people can express themselves. So I do appreciate that. But I also wonder, what is that balance between honoring, accepting, and taking the sage advice of elders while simultaneously allowing ourselves to have the freedom to be authentically us, whatever that means? What is that balance? Is there a balance? Or is everything meant to just look the same? Lastly, I will also say, I believe that elders are so crucial. They are crucial. And we do need elders. We do need people in our life who are going to tell us the truth, even when we don't like it, even when it doesn't feel good, who are going to tell us the unadulterated truth for our betterment. Now, I will say that I'm not the biggest fan of shaming, because I think if you just shame someone and say, you just shouldn't do this, but you don't explain to them why, you don't explain to them, here's why this is a good option, here's why this is a bad option, or, if you don't engage with them, I think in that way, then some people are just going to rebel. And I think we've partially seen that in this culture. So I'm more of a component of, instead of just shaming, like, you shouldn't do this, of, okay, let's talk about what does this lifestyle get you? What does this option get you? What does that option get you? And then ultimately go from there. But I do think it is important to listen to elders. I do think it is important to take their advice into consideration, especially when the elders are open and honest about their mistakes and also the victories, right? We need there to be a level of transparency among our elders, because we don't want them to act like they always made it right, because they didn't, right? We learn so much when our elders are open and honest about their victories, but also their failures. But this intergenerational exchange, I think, is crucial. And unfortunately, we don't always see that as much, and that's not valued as much in American culture. But it is crucial, I think, to passing down values and passing down traditions that keep a healthy society together. And when that bond is broken, it can cause a lot of destruction. I partially think this is why we see the Black community in particular in the state that it's in, because there's not really elders there, or there doesn't seem to be either respect of elders, or somewhere down the line, the values that were set in place to maintain a healthy community were lost. And so again, what is that balance between individual agency and respecting our elders? Anyways, that's what I have. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know. I thought this was a very interesting video, very hilarious, but also a lot to tease out. Thank you so much for listening. If you've gotten this far, let me know. Leave your questions, comments, concerns in the comment section below, and we'll talk later. Okay, bye.